Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Windows on Current Affairs. And today on Windows on Current Affairs, we're going to take a comprehensive look over the 4th edition of the World Youth Forum and how prosperous it was and how glamorous and how impressive it was. Coming back after quite a long time, and in particular after the pandemic, and during one of the most critical times the world is going through, it came out very safe, well organized, and of course the content was very important. Also during that particular forum, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have announced that 2022 is going to be the year for civil society. And this is a very important step taken, which reflects the keenness of the Egyptian administration over civil society and the role of civil society. And of course, that would take us to Hayya Karima and the huge role that it had played over 1 year, the pace of 1 year. We're going to be discussing all that in detail, but first let me welcome our dear guest live with us here in the studio, Dr. Hend Khairy. She's political coordinator for content, and of course she was amongst the organizing committee of WIF. Good evening, Ms. Khairy, and let us first talk about the organization of such a huge forum after a halt of almost 3 or 4 years? 3 years.
4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
I thought it was 3. So 3 years, the whole world, not only Egypt, was in a complete pause because of many things. And probably nobody expected that Egypt would hold such a forum, a huge one, that is gathering more than almost 190 countries and hosting entrepreneurs and hosting youth, not only youth, but politicians and intellectuals and public figures with that particular gravity during the pandemic. I mean, we overwhelmed the whole world. So talk to us about the organization.
Okay. Actually, let me thank you first for this amazing introduction. But let me start first from the beginning of joining the Presidential Leadership Program, known on media PRP, as we studied a lot of materials in different fields like political science, law, economics, human resource management, and marketing, and a lot of things. So after that, we suggested to hold local conference for youth in different governorates in Egypt. But after that, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi recommended to hold this event, but at international level. So he released the first edition of this World Youth Forum in 2017 from the land of peace, Sharm el-Sheikh. So back to your question about the role of organizing committee. Organizing committee consists of subcommittees. There are content committees and media, transportation, airport speakers, a lot of committees. So as I'm a content committee, so I'm going to talk about the role of the content committee. First, we represent a lot of topics, and we choose a lot of topics in different fields: socialized and cultural, technological, political, economical affairs. So, and after that, we held a committee specific to political axis or economics axis, and have teams in order to prepare these topics. And after that, the coordinator of this axis will be responsible for the team and at the same time the content of this pillar. Okay.
So you are the team who, first of all, you create or brainstorm the topics.
Yes.
Right? Of course,
Yes.
with supervision of over you. But at the same time, the choice of the topics, the reason I asked you that question, because the choice of the topics was very selective, and it was the highlight of the forum. Doctors, I'm sorry, I was supposed to go in sequence, but the topics are very well selected, and at the same time, you are responsible for the continent. That's why you have to start with the sessions and the topics of the sessions. Like I said, the topics of the sessions were very selective, And it was very impressive coming back after 4 years
Yes.
and taking the topics of the hour and you know, keeping in pace with the with the momentum, which was very noticeable at the same time. Let's talk about the sessions. The main topics.
Okay. To have a comment before I start to tell you the topic of the session. Yes, like you said minutes ago, that this year is very difficult circumstances to hold a conference or to hold a forum, international forum, during the pandemic. But because of this, all the topics inside the World Religious Forum is connected or linked to the coronavirus, to study or discuss the effects of this coronavirus. Back to the political acts. This year we had 3 sessions and 1 workshop. The first session related to international or global peace and security, post-pandemic world. And this session we discussed with the speakers, the effects of coronavirus on the terrorism and the refugees and peace initiatives. The second important topic also related to the international responsibility for achieving sustainable water security. And this is one of the most important sessions because the speakers discussed how we can find untraditional water resources and to avoid the decrease of scarcity of the water. And they discussed artificial intelligence to solve this problem. And the last session, really I like this session so much because this is a presidential session. The president attended this session. The title of this session is the international responsibility for post-conflict areas reconstruction. And the president talked about the concept of reconstruction from the human, not only for developing and establishing projects, but the reconstruction started from the human first. And the last thing related to the political axis is the workshop. And this workshop held on 8 January before the opening. And the title of this workshop is Towards Rational Water Resources for Humanity. And the youth discussed a lot of things inside this workshop, especially how to manage the shared and common water resources between countries. And this is amazing, by the way.
So it's most noticeable that most of the sessions, they revolved about social responsibility, about digitalization, about the rational consumption of human resources, about facing the threats, the momentum threats like the water scarcity, like the different pandemics and
terrorism.
Come again, please?
Terrorism, yes.
Or terrorism, of course.
Yeah.
Terrorism has been there even since, but ever since the pandemic had emerged, it have clicked to our minds to be opening up to new horizons, like digitalization, like executing the 17 goals of the sustainable development set by President Abdel Fattah Sisi even before the pandemic, which also reflects his foresight and his vision, as if he knew what was happening. And that's why mainly the goals of the sustainable development is very essential. And that's what the sessions were revolving around, but on different means. I wanted to ask you about the role of your committee. You were responsible for the most difficult part of the forum, which is the content.
Okay.
Talk to us about it.
Okay. Well, even I choose this because of my studying, but every year I choose this content, especially political acts, because of I like political science. Of
You
course.
studied political science.
Yes. So even it was so tired for me and for my team. According to the role of this committee,
It was exhausting, of course.
Yes.
Why was it
Well,
exhausting? You already prepared, I mean, you set up the foundation for every session. But why was it exhausting? You had, I mean, some difficulties while trying to...
Well, it depends. One of these years, like I can say, because this year is difficult, because every issue inside political science connected to the pandemic. So I can't say I'm facing some difficulties because I used to do it, but different teams we had. Like this year we have a special team. I thank them. I thank every member of them because they are working with me first. And the second thing, they are eager to present something is important. But some of them, maybe they have, you know, the passion. When you have a passion to work, so you will do your best in order to just appear the perfect image to the session. But because the experience, maybe they had some experience to share. But at the end, I find some issues, but not with my team. But when I speak the role of my team, every member of my team has its role before the session starts and during the session when it starts. Before the session, we just prepare the content, searching a lot, prepare important material to represent. But after that, we nominate some speakers in order to attend the session. Different speakers, international leaders, and so on. And by the way, they attended the sessions, thanks God. The second thing, the day of the session, every member has specific role to do in order to cover all tasks with us. So the teamwork are really amazing with me this year. But briefly, choosing the topic. I know you need to know that choosing the topic. Of course, it's difficult, but we have a lot of supervisors in order to be sure that we on the right track at the end. Okay.
On the right track. Of course, let us talk about the participants, the speakers. It was also very remarkable your choice and select of the guests on stage and on the platform of discussion. You had international leaders, you had CEOs of very successful organizations and not necessarily governmental, but influential people. And this is what we mean when we talk about when we discuss topics. We need to invite people who make sense.
Yes.
How was the performance, and how did they see the platform after 40 years of a halt? Did that discourage them from participation, or?
Yeah, not discourage, encourage them to come.
Encourage them?
Yeah, this year also, because of the pandemic, we face some difficulties related to the speakers. Some speakers, after they decided to come, one of them got virus. So even that, he didn't neglect to attend, but we let him attend virtual. So the technology, of course, play a big role this year, because even the participant or the speakers that come, there are another choice to attend like anyone physical. So virtual play a very important role to let all the speakers to make sense, and another thing, to encourage them to continue with us. He didn't refuse to come, but because of the pandemic, he can't come. So we let him come by virtual and discuss his topic.
And we have seen some influential leaders, participating through internet cyber platforms, and they were not really present at the event, but they were with you online, and it was very successful. Who is responsible for that? You two?
Yes,
your committee?
our colleagues. Well, let me tell you something. I confirm from this channel, we are the only destination that organizes this international event. So every member from Presidential Leadership Program joining by default, he or she by default, he is an organizing committee. So we are the only destination that organizes this event. And our colleagues also, because of their experience in information technology, they really helped us, and we're so tired because, of course, this is, we're just on the session, and there are a speaker in USA, and the time is 5 a.m. and you are in 1 p.m. So it's a big catastrophe to make him wake up in order to attend the session. So
That's why there should be incentives that he would be totally, willing to participate because of the continent and because he sees that you are making a lot of sense in your topics and your sessions. And
but even that, if he can't come or because of what you said, he can record a word and send it to us. So we just represent his word during the session. We didn't even neglect his or her participation. So even he didn't attend the virtual or physical, but he participated with recorded words. Yes.
Very good. Let's talk about the political axis, which is your sphere and your field. Yes. The political axis of the forum was very rich also. Yes. There was depth, as if this, the fourth edition has matured enough to bring political gravity and expansion of political views. And the political axis is one of the most important topics or content amongst the sessions. Talk to us about the gravity and the importance of the political axis and how it had added to some of the sessions.
Well, if I choose one of these sessions related to the global peace and security post-pandemic world, I can say the most important topic inside the session related to the terrorism. Because during and after the pandemic, we are facing terrorism, the increasing of the number of terrorists over the world. So what's going on? So there is a gaps inside some societies, and the session just like alarm or notify to the political leaders, to all the government, take care. You have to fill in the gaps inside your society, because the terrorists just try to get into these regions, these needy communities and poor countries or poor regions. So even the pandemic didn't prevent them to continue their army conflicts and disputes to destroy the world. So the most important thing that we have to take care about terrorism, because the pandemic didn't prevent them to continue their strategy for destroying the world and so on.
The recommendations came out to urge for holding a global summit for international financial institutions and donor countries to be able to support and empower the most needy communities and the poorer countries. Talk to us about this.
Okay, well, thanks for choosing this recommendation, because this recommendation is general. I mean general, it deals with the political affairs and social affairs and at the same time economic affairs. But from the political perspective, this recommendation is just to notify the international financial institution to let them increasing the funds to these needy communities and poor countries in order to let them live like us. And at the same time, like I said before, to prevent the terrorists to get into these regions. So when I increasing the funds to develop these countries or to develop this community, the needy communities, so I will just close the door from the terrorists to take advantage
exactly, and this is what is happening in Egypt. This is what President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi have directed through his policies over the past of 6 or 7 years. I'm not going to say 7 years, but ever since before those 7 years, ever since he stepped in office, he have been directing the government to be able to effect development in places that were threatened by militant groups or by some different threats, though that Egypt is not really threatened, but like Sinai, for example, like Suez Canal and the projects that were held, and on the frontiers and all that. So it's very important to effect development and find job opportunities for the people in order to divert their attention from other destructive ideas. If you like to elaborate.
Yeah. By the way, I can add comments. Well, we thank the president to just listen our point of views, because this is one of the aids of the YOS, to just take care There are some regions inside Egypt try to take care about them, try to just let them enjoy social insurance and health insurance and so on. So I thank him again and again and again for trying to fill any gap inside the Egyptian society.
Of course, speaking about the president and his usual Ask the President session and his discussion and communication with the youth and all the attendees of the forum, how was it? Tell us about it, and what were the most important highlights? We have seen it over the media.
Yes, I can.
Youth would ask whatever questions without
he
even
can
preparing.
stand whatever we want him to talk to him.
What were the most important, maybe impressive no questions that came to the president?
No, well, I will tell you something. There is a session inside the political acts related to international responsibility for post-conflict areas reconstructions. And this session, there is post-conflict.
Post-conflicts.
Yes, areas reconstructions.
Areas of reconstruction.
Yes. And there was an ambassador of Yemen youth, and he talked to the president from the feeling of
Yemen
fathers.
youth?
Yes, from the feeling of fathers, because he is suffering and is still suffering. He is from conflict region in Yemen, so he can say he didn't enjoy any chance, and he not find anyone to qualify him. So he asked him, I wanted to one of your sons in Egypt. So please, I need to be qualified in order to be one day a leader in my society. Of course, the conflict will not continue. One day the peace will be the end. So this is a session full of emotions and feeling from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and really the majority of attendee, and one of my friends also, he's crying because when he talked, the president told him, don't worry, I promise you, Egypt welcome anyone from any country all over the world, especially from the Arab countries, not also from the African countries. Come to Egypt and we'll qualify you. We will attend a lot of training programs. And he of course asked the National Training Academy in order to adopt majority of these young leaders from different countries, not only the conflict regions, but also all the countries. So after these promises, he really he crying after being happy. So really,
and when the president promised, he fulfilled his promises.
Yes, of course.
We have seen that a lot.
Yes, of course.
But probably people who come, I mean, from outside Egypt really wouldn't believe it until they see it.
They envy us. You know, they are envy us because of our president. They didn't find president like him in their countries. So everyone come from outside or from all over the world. He just talk to our president easily. He can take a photo with him, comparing to other presidents in different countries. So anyone come to Egypt just to be happy and try to tell us, we miss you. You should hold this conference not every year but every month. So,
we're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue Windows and Current Affairs, so stay with us. Welcome back, and we're still on with Windows and Current Affairs and shedding light over the very successful 4th edition of the WYF. And with us here live in the studio is our dear guest, Dr. Hend Khairy, and she's a political coordinator for content at the organizing committee of WYF. Hend, we were just talking about the content and talking about the president and his interaction, like usual. Friendly with the youth and the participants, but let's talk about the recommendations of the WIF expressing international and regional dimensions for the forum.
Well, if this is a question, I can say yes. So because of the World Youth Forum this year is expressed its recommendation internationally and regionally. But if this is a normal sentence, I can say of course, because the World Youth Forum, you know, is an international event. So we invite all the youth from all over the world to come to Egypt to express their point of view, to participate in even taking a decision by saying their recommendation. And as you know, this year also, they attended the international leader and regional leaders. Some of them attend the session and the other are speakers on the session. So, like you said before, the two dimensions are of course expressed. Minutes ago, you told us a recommendation related to the International Summit for International Financial Institution. So this is all the countries all over the world involving to this recommendation. Another also international recommendation or expressed the international dimension related to invite the World Health Organization for just mutual recognition initiatives for vaccines, because until now there are some countries taking the third dose, although there are some countries didn't take even the first dose. So we have to manage this crisis. Another thing I can talk about the regional dimension by another recommendation related to African Projects Business Council, like a platform for African entrepreneurs in order to participate their projects. Another thing also, and I'm a good witness about it, by the way, is related to the workshop. Like I said before, there was a workshop in political access. So this workshop, we had different nationalities, I think more than 100 countries. And this workshop, we divided the participants into groups to discuss a very important issue related to how we can manage the shared and common water resources between countries. Of course, we didn't say any countries, but we just deal with country A, country B, country C. So after dividing the groups, some groups are representing the point of view of upstream countries, and another group represented the point of view of downstream countries, and the other, or the last one group, represented the corridor countries. And there are one group will represented the point of view of international organization. You can imagine that every table in the workshop, they are discussing, we have Arabian and European and from Asian countries and even from African countries, and even though from the Ethiopian countries, the same table they are discussing the most important issue. And at the end, they told us a recommendation to sign a cooperation committee in order to manage these shared resources fairly, and at the same time, they keep on their eyes on the right of the next generation to use the water resources. So really, I was so happy because no one told us that to solve this problem, we have to fight. To solve the problem, we have to make a conflict. No. At the end, they only one word they said: cooperation, to live together. And really, I am astonished. So this is one of the most important recommendation from them. And at the same time, this is appeared to international and regional dimension.
In other words, can we call what you're saying is that the WIF created the post-COVID language for the future, which is cooperation instead of war, and other topics replacing the usual debated topics. We used to talk about that regardless of the WIF, like for example the environmental topics replacing topics like militarization and stuff like this. But let us go back to the WIF and talk about the sessions. Sessions played a very important role in the sense of what you're saying, that people from all walks of life, and I mean youth, and from different countries, saying like Ethiopia and other countries, they gathered together to agree on principles.
Yes.
Which is very important.
Yes.
And at the same time, it was a call or an urge for world youth to be able to come together on a one unified stance, regardless of the conflicts, and regardless of the issues, and regardless of different views, and regardless of where you come from. How is that going to impact the very impressive issues that were mentioned in the Sustainable Development Goals, like water scarcity, like gender inequality, like job opportunities, human empowerment, youth empowerment, poverty, all that. Is that going to change
Well, I will tell you
the
something.
situation?
As I said before, because after the releasing of the first edition and the slogan, World Youth Forum, we need to talk. So the first message come to Egypt from the first edition of World Youth Forum is we need to talk. And after that, we talked and we discussed a lot of things. And when the pandemic came, so we changed this slogan to back together. Back together means that we should be
We
together.
already established the foundation and we're back
Yes,
together.
we should be together. We should cooperate together. We should think to face any challenge together. Because after our cooperation, we'll pass any challenge, any constraints, any risk. So we will win this new type of wars. You know, this war is related to war against the humanity. So if we didn't cooperate, we will not pass. If we didn't cooperate, we will not live in peace. So the message
But is that the concept for everybody? Probably no. This is the role of the WIF.
yes,
It is changing minds and changing
awareness.
hearts
You know, it's
of different
yes, yes.
fronts.
The youth will participate to be make all of the world, all the youth all over the world be
Through
aware.
peace.
Yes, for awareness that we are one man. We have the same goal as humanity. So together we will live in peace and safety.
So unifying the whole world, all different fronts under one hand and one umbrella,
Yes.
which is very good. Probably Egypt sets a good example in, in that. The history of 70 years establishing so many successes was also downplayed inside the WIF, right?
Yes, but by the way, Egypt is unique. Egypt is unique, really. And our
The leadership
presidents-
is unique.
Sorry.
The leadership, the political
Yes,
leadership
that's why
is
I'm
unique.
going
Exactly.
to continue.
Mm.
And our president also is unique because he really care about every member inside the society and outside the society.
It's humanity at large.
Yes, that's why we enter Gaza in order to reconstruct. Gaza.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why also in the session of
very
international
important point
responsibility,
that you
yes,
raised.
for post-conflict areas reconstruction, the ambassador of Yemen, Yos, he told him to come like Gaza. He asked him, please, President, come to Yemen, reconstruct Yemen like Gaza. That's
Right.
why Egypt really is a unique country in all over
And
the world.
this is going to bring us to one also a very important question, which is the forum's most important recommendations that was talking about the establishment of a UN platform to ensure the importance of funding the reconstruction process in devastating spots and the conflict areas.
Yeah.
So how was that taken? How did that work during WIF?
This recommendation related to the session I told you minutes ago. And because of this recommendation, the president think there is no guarantee for reaching the funds to this region. That's why he recommended to just unify a platform related to the United Nations in order to be sure and to confirm all the funds are reaching or delivering to these regions. Because actually some regions really didn't receive anything. And because of maybe some interest or political interest or conditions, I don't know.
Because of
But
conflict
yeah,
of interest.
Yes, of course this is one of these reasons, but at the end the citizen is suffering and is still suffering. That's why we will eager to achieve this recommendation in order to achieve the humanity, the pure humanity to all the region. So this is important recommendation from the session and from World Youth Forums as all.
Finally, usually events like that, they hold a specific clear message, though that it's not announced but it's reflected through the sessions, through the content, and you were responsible for the content, and also through the vision of the whole platform.
Political leadership
So
also.
this unique forum of the youth, the World Youth, the 4th edition, what exact message is it delivering
Well,
after its recommendations, after setting its rules and principles and holding its sessions the way it did?
like I said before, this forum this year held on difficult circumstances because of the pandemic, but because of the current political leadership insisted to continue and to hold this conference on time and to continue our normal life, continue our doing tasks and practices, everything, establishing projects. So the message, we are trying to adapt to this pandemic. But before that, he told the world we should be together in order to pass this international crisis. Like I said, what the time we will live in peace and safety if we didn't unify or we didn't cooperate together. So cooperation is the best thing to just pass from this door.
I mean, overcoming this very critical
Yes,
period.
overcoming or get rid of it.
Hopefully,
Yes.
inshallah. We are going to overcome that, and everyone would overcome this very critical period
Yeah.
towards much more towards prosperity and development.
Yeah, this is one of the
Inshallah.
messages, by the way.
Of course. Dr. Hend Khairy, you are a political coordinator for content at the WIF organizational committee. Thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best of luck. Thank you for coming. And I guess this would bring us to the end of this edition of Windows on Current Affairs. Many thanks to all of you. Until we see you again next week, that's a goodbye.